afternoon, everybody. It's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and I'm here today to guide you through a super relaxing yoga practice where we're just gonna make our way into the weekend, shaking off any internal or physical tension that we might feel. So we're gonna get started in 2 minutes. We're gonna stay on the floor today. We'll just stay on the floor as much as possible. Yeah. We're gonna get started in kneeling. Great, thanks for coming. Fred. Things are just like extra super bright in here today. Oh my gosh, birdie birds. Here you go. What, Fred? Stop dropping the peanuts, girlfriend. That's what you get right now. I'm sorry that you don't like what I'm offering. Oh my gosh. I think this is my first time at this rodeo, but it's not my first time at this rodeo. These are just so bright by the window. You know what? Our best is always enough, and I'm going to allow that to be me and this odd lighting situation today. Nope. That's enough. All right. If you happen to have any sort of props, I encourage you to bring some sort of a block or a rolled up blanket or towel. We're going to get into using that in just a couple minutes. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started in kneeling. You might find that you want your block for kneeling. It's really going to be your choice whether you're coming into this kneeling with your feet together, or if you would like to come into your kneeling with your legs a little bit further apart, maybe with your bum coming in towards the center of your heels. So just find what feels good for you. Feel free to separate your legs a little, sitting on that prop, if that provides the support that feels best for you today. And once you find that grounded support for yourself, go ahead, just start to melt into your practice, coming into your breath. Feel free to close your eyes, finding that one spot for focus. Take a couple moments right here, right now, whatever position or engagement that you came into to start off your kneeling. I want you to just take the next couple of breaths to be aware of the state that your body is in right now. As we start to slow our breath down, it becomes a little bit easier to notice where you might be creating extra tension that you just don't necessarily need, and we're doing our best today to truly let go all of that which does not serve us. So relaxing your shoulders down away from your ears, elbows can begin to hang heavy down towards the floor, maybe even a gentle kissing of your shoulder blades towards each other, finding a lift of the chest sternum, drawing your belly button back towards your spine to create some engagement of your abdominal core and also to find some support in your lower back. Notice if you're overarching your back, if your rib cage is feeling like it's laid out, and think about what would happen if you were trying to hold a quarter right here in your chest and knit that rib cage back together. Take a couple moments right here back with your breath. It's very normal if you do tend to hold your tension in your body for as soon as you let go of the awareness for that tension to creep back in. So really take this time, take as much time as you need with your breath today. Move at your own pace in today's practice to really be as relaxed, as engaged as possible, focusing a lot on this abdominal engagement. If you sat yourself on a prop, we're going to lift ourselves up off of our prop. You might even want to open your knees a little bit wider for a little bit more support. I brought my toes together similar to how we would be in extended child's pose. I'm going to go ahead and reach your right hand towards the back of the mat, maybe either pressing your hand palm or your finger pads down, and then inhale that left arm up towards the ceiling. Find a little lift of your chest sternum. Might even feel good to really press your pubic mound up towards the ceiling, squeezing your glutes, stretching your hips up. You can even look back with your eyes towards your left hand fingertips for 3, 2, 1. Change. Take your time coming back forward. We're going to place our left hand down on the mat. Inhale your right arm up and behind you. You can keep your hands on the floor, you can keep your glutes on your heels, but if it feels good, if you want a little bit of an extra stretch to start to engage and come into some back bends already, we're just going to press through our hips up towards the ceiling, pressing those knees down towards the floor. Big stretch on the top of the thighs as well. Beautiful. Take one more big breath right here. And then exhale, bring your glutes back to your heels. If you lifted, bring your hands in front of you. We're going to bring our hands down on the mat. So take a moment right here and get your heels, your toes in line behind your knees. Next up, we're going to go for a big toe stretch. So go ahead, tuck those toes under. Really take a moment and walk your toes in as much as possible, curling that toe meat down towards the mat. And as you start to walk your hands back and bring your hips closer towards your heels, you'll start to feel that pressure on the backs of your feet. Notice if you're bringing extra rounding or arching towards your back. And aim to maintain that flat back if you can, that engagement of your abdominal core. Still length through your spine and shoulders away from your ears, and lift yourself up as much as you possibly can. We'll spend 1 minute here in big toe stretch. The more that you lift yourself up, the more weight and pressure that you apply of your heels, of your glutes into your heels, into the balls of the feet on the floor. The bigger the stretch is, take that stress and tension out of your chest and shoulders. Feel free to close your eyes or focus on that one spot, and we're back to our breath. Beautiful. Change. Go ahead, bring your hands back down to the floor, walk yourself out into tabletop, uncurl your toes. You can even tap the tops of those feet onto the floor. Beautiful. All right, let's take a moment, relax our backs, separate your knees as much as you need to, send your hips back towards your heels, walk your hands, palms forward, and we'll come into an extended child's pose. Really using our breath in today's extended child's pose. I want you to inhale and stretch a little bit more through your fingers, like you're really trying to reach your fingers towards the top of the mat, the front of the room. And exhale, just release any tension. Still pressing your fingers into the floor, maybe an extra stretch of your glutes back towards your heels. Take 2 more breaths right here. Great, and then we're gonna bring ourselves forward. So if you didn't have your arms extended in front of you, extend them in front of you now. Bring those forearms down towards the mat, either bringing your belly forward or walking your legs behind you. We're going to come on into Sphinx pose. So open those feet a little bit wider, about match width distance apart. You can even press the tops of the feet into the floor. Find a little engagement of your glutes, pubic mound pressed down, elbows pressed down towards the floor as well. Find that relaxation in your neck, either being active with your chin neutral to the floor, or a little bit more passive with your chin neutral towards your chest, just finding what feels good for you today. If you're having any discomfort in your back, being a little bit more passive in this posture will probably feel good. And if you need to, even think about just wiggling your bum right and left, right and left. Option to come a little bit deeper here into Sphinx as we come towards the end. It's even easier to come into seal if you place your hands out a little bit wider in front of you. The further your hands are in front of you, the easier your seal will be. Walking your hands in a little bit further or closer to the center line of your body. Still working to keep your belly button, your pubic mound down on the mat. Go ahead, pull and draw your shoulders away from your ears. Look up towards the ceiling. Shoulder blades kiss towards each other. Back is super engaged to come and work towards full expression. Bend your knees, bring your toes together. Bring those heels closer towards your glutes. Look up, look back for your toes. Toes can stretch up towards the ceiling. Maybe knees and thighs start to lift off the floor for 3, 2, 1. Slowly, gently relax yourself down. Make a nice little pillow with your hands, palms. Release your feet to the floor. Place your head on top of your pillow. And then bend those knees once again. We'll just windshield wipe our feet right and left, relieve any tension. While we're here on our bellies, we'll get a big stretch into our shoulders, a spine twisting shoulder stretch. Go ahead, send your left arm out to the side, keeping your left hand palm in line with your shoulder. Bring your right hand close towards your chest. We're going to bend our right leg up towards the ceiling. As you press into your right hand, you lift that right leg up and over. And it's up to you how much of a shoulder stretch you want to come into. The more that you roll over on towards your side and open your hips up towards the ceiling, the more stretch you're going to feel in your shoulder. If you want, you can even stretch your right arm behind you as well. A little reverse threading the needle, so they say. Take the tension out of your neck. Find a place to relax your neck on the floor. And remember, if the shoulder stretch is too much for you, you can keep it a spine twist by continuing to stretch your arms out in a T and working to get that right armpit to the floor. Oh, getting that big twist with my knee lifted tends to bring a big stretch into my right glute hip also. And change. Take your time rolling back onto your belly. Extend your right arm out to the side. Bring your left hand in close towards your chest. Bend your left leg. Oopsie doodles. And press yourself up. Roll over. Come into the shoulder stretch. Opening up your chest. Option to send your left hand behind you for thread the needle. Or being a little bit more passive in today's practice. Keeping your arms out in a T and just finding the spine twist that works best for you. Back to your breath. And change. Slowly, gently roll over onto your belly once more. Go ahead, relax your arms down by your side. And bring your feet together. Wiggle your feet together. Heels, toes touching each other. Go ahead, press the tops of your feet down into the floor so that your kneecaps start to lift up. Squeeze your glutes, press your pubic down, mound down into the mat. And then I want you to take a deep inhale. And on your exhale, roll those shoulders down your back. So your shoulders lift up off the floor. Start reaching your fingers towards each other. If you can interlace your fingers or just touch your fingers, any of those things. Next, we're going to come into dart. Maybe you can even get your hands, palms together. Go ahead, take a deep inhale and exhale. And on your next inhale, slowly, gently, lift yourself up. Take your time, a nice slow inhale. You want to leave a little bit of air in your lungs. We call it 80-20 breathing. If you let all of the air out, you're going to feel a little bit panicked. So keeping a little bit of air in your lungs to keep this lift. Nice small breaths, but every inhale, think about filling that balloon in your belly, lifting up a little bit more. One more time, inhale, squeeze those shoulder blades, press pubic mound down, lift, and exhale. Slowly, gently release. Go ahead, bring your hands in line with your chest. We're going to curl our toes under. Take your time and press yourself up into a plank. You might need to come up on your knees and then press up into your plank, but with those hands, palms about underneath of your chest, working to be in as straight of a line as you can be. Right here in our plank, we're just going to come forwards and backwards. So pressing into your toes. So just bring those heels a little forward and back. Awesome. Come back into that beautiful plank form. Separate your feet a little bit wider. Take a nice deep inhale and send your hips up towards the ceiling. Coming into down dog for just a moment. You can bend those knees. You can even walk your feet in a little bit more if you need to be supported here in your down dog. Think about bringing your belly towards your thighs. Your biceps are bracing by your ears. Your arm creases are shining forward towards the top of your mat. And here you can wiggle your hips right and left. Walk the dog. And then once again, I want you to press all the way up onto your toes and relax and release your heels to the floor. Press up to the toes, heels to the floor. 3 more, up to the toes, heels to the floor, up, down. Last one, come up, stay up, and we're gonna twist over to the right. So just dropping your heels to the right side of the mat, just taking a nice little side twist right here. Change, press up towards the ceiling, high on those toes, and then drop those heels over to the left. Change, press all the way back up. Bring your left foot to the center of your mat. Inhale your right leg up towards the ceiling. Go ahead, bend at the right knee, stacking your knee on top of your hip. Feel free to make some circles in one direction, in the opposite direction. And then go ahead, draw that right knee in all the way up to your nose. Hold it in here tight for just a second. We're going to turn our right toes to the left side of the mat, close by your left hand, and then relax and release yourself down, coming into pigeon. You might want to wiggle that right foot a little bit more forward as you walk your left legs back behind you. Find what feels good for you today. We'll start with a nice lifted pigeon right here. So again, I encourage you to inhale. Find your lifted length, space between your vertebrae, and exhale. Roll those shoulders down your back. Squeeze them together. You can stay lifted here in your pigeon if it feels good. Or if you want, you can start to walk your hands forward. Keep that chin neutral towards your chest. Maybe you get your forearms all the way down towards the mat. Notice if you rolled all the way onto that right glute and start to bring the stretch a little bit more towards that left hip flexor as well. So maybe your right glute comes off the ceiling as you work to press that left hip flexor back down to the floor. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. Find length in your spine once again. Awesome, and we're gonna change. So bring your hands back to the floor. Start to walk yourself up. We're gonna stay right here. Take that extended left leg behind you. Shift the weight into your right glute, and we're gonna come into deer pose. So bend your left knee behind you. You might wanna walk the sole of your right foot towards your left thigh, and then just take your time. Use your breath. Exhale that left glute back down towards the floor. You can ground your hands on each of your knees. Shoulders down away from ears, belly pulled nice and tight, abdominal engagement. Back to your breath. Two more breaths right here. And then we're gonna do our best to come into cow face. I know we got to practice some cow face arms if you joined me in yin earlier this week. And this afternoon we'll practice some legs. So go ahead, shift the weight over towards your right thigh. Maybe even coming onto your right glute. Once again, extend your left leg and then draw it forward as if you're going through the sand, such that your left leg completely crosses over your right. Once it's there, you can wiggle your toes back towards your hip as much as possible. And then we're just gonna sit that left glute down. So hopefully now your knees are somewhat stacked on top of each other. Feel free to bring your hands closer towards your hips to help center everything a little bit more. It's really normal if things are very tight for you to be nowhere near as tightly crossed as I am. Just coming into a slightly deeper crossing of the legs, even if your legs are super forward. Maybe you just want to grab hold of the top of your shins as you stack one knee on top of the other. Work to find grounding through both sit bones, a lift of that chest sternum. We'll just focus on the legs for right now. If you're noticing any deep tension or discomfort, really send your breath into those tense spots that you're feeling. Just inhaling in the awareness of the stretch and exhaling any sort of expectation. Just enjoy whatever your body can do today. We're gonna change and just drag our left leg, left knee towards our right heel as we come into double pigeon or fire logs. So once again, if you're feeling really tight, this might be a challenging posture for you. You might find that your left knee is all the way up towards the ceiling, doing your best to kind of stack your ankles towards your knees. They can either be right on top or hanging off towards the side, so there's not too much pressure on your ankles. Find that grounding of your sit bones again. If you're feeling really flexible and you don't feel the stretch at all within your left hip flexor, go ahead, bring your hands down to the floor. And just gently start to walk yourself forward. Feel free to be passive here in your lower back, focusing right now on the stretch that you're just creating with your legs. Notice if you brought any extra tension into your right glute, send your breath there, relax and release. Great, walk yourself back in. Uncross your legs, go ahead, bring your knees together. We're gonna come back into tabletop for just a moment. Right here back in tabletop, I'm just gonna give you an opportunity to give yourself a couple cat-cows right here. Address any tension that might be hiding or harboring in your back. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing, but this time on the other side. So take your time, we're gonna step ourselves back into our plank. Feel free to open those feet nice and wide because you know down dog's coming in just a second. Find some length, hands, palms, press down to the floor, fingertips can be spread nice and wide. Shoulders on top of hands, palms, belly pulled tight. No belly sagging down towards the floor, no hips up towards the ceiling just yet. Find that length through the crown of your head for 3, 2, 1. Take a deep inhale, pull that belly in, send your hips up towards the ceiling. Feel free to walk those feet a little bit further forward. Once again, pedaling your heels, walking the dog. Let's one more time take the opportunity to just get a little bit more manipulation in our feet. So belly still pressed towards your thighs. Come all the way up onto your toes as high as possible. And then exhale your heels down towards the floor. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, take your time on the way down. 3 more. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, come down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. One more time. Inhale, up. We'll take that twist to each side. Inhale, up. This time, let's drop over to the left side first. Bringing those heels back to the mat, the outer edges of your feet towards the floor. Your left rib is closer towards your left hip, maybe a little pinching compression on the obliques on the left side. Take a deep inhale, press back up onto your toes. And exhale, drop your heels towards the opposite side. One more time, inhale, press up, walk your right foot to center, ground that heel, and send your left leg up towards the ceiling. Bend at the left knee, stacking your knee on top of your hips. Can you keep your chest squared down towards the mat while opening up the side body? All right, take a deep inhale, send that left leg up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, draw that left knee up towards your nose, shifting the weight forward, pull it in really tight, and draw your left toes to the right side of the mat. Take your time lowering yourself down, and then wiggle that right knee back behind you as we come into pigeon on the opposite side. It's normal to shift the weight over to the left and to lose the stretch in that right glute, so feel free to keep your hands on the floor as much as possible. If your wrists are hurting, even placing your knuckles down into the floor to find this big length. Back to your breath. Option to come all the way down towards the floor. Just taking the time to inhale in the awareness of wherever it is that you're feeling the stretch. This is a big stretch in those glutes and those hip flexors. So just thanking yourself for working to create a little bit of extra space. Change, gently begin to walk yourself up. Shift your weight over to your left glute. This time we're going to bend our right knee in and come into our deer pose on the opposite side. So you have the inner arch slash sole of your right foot touching the floor. And you can bring that heel closer towards the center line of your body and even come on towards the top of your foot. Just finding the stretch that feels good for you. Doing your best to release those glutes down towards the floor. Bring your hands to your knees for a little bit of grounding, and remember that each side of our body is different, and it's very normal for something like deer pose, for the half cow face, and for the double pigeon that we're doing, these 3 postures in a row, to be more challenging on one side than the other, depending on how you normally sit in a chair. How do you normally stand? Do you tend to give a little bit more weight to one side than the other? All right, we're going to come into our cow face. So shift the weight over to that left thigh. We're going to draw your right leg all the way over. Get that right kneecap somewhere on top of your left knee, and then feel free to walk it in. Once again, maybe pressing your hands into the floor to find that shifting, doing your best to just stack one knee on top of the other, relaxing both of your glutes down towards the mat, finding that lift of your chest, but make sure you're not overarching your back. So still, once again, pulling your core in, knitting your rib cage together, finding your length. And change. Next up, we're going to come into fire log. So drawing your right knee on top of your left ankle. You can even find a little more engagement by flexing your toes in towards each other. Use your breath to exhale, relax, and release that right thigh as close down to the mat as you can today. And honor whatever it is that you're bringing. If it's not a big enough stretch in your hips, you can always walk your hands forward. Feel free to come into this one passively. So maybe taking a little rounding of the back, maybe focusing on even pressing into your hands, palms, creating some space, separating your shoulder blades from each other right now. Take 2 more breaths right here. Great, then go ahead and walk yourself back in. Next up, we're just gonna open our legs a little bit more. So drag your right leg out. We'll come into either butterfly or bound angle, whichever feels best for you. It really depends on what stretch you feel like you need today. If you're looking for more of a stretch, again, of those hip flexors, walking those heels super close in towards the center line of your body will increase the stretch here at your hip flexors. If you're feeling some discomfort and you'd rather bring a stretch more to your legs and to your lower back, walk those feet out a little bit further, even tilting forward on your hips. Whichever position you decided to come in, feel free to use those elbows a little heavy in towards your thighs. Maybe if your feet are a little bit closer towards the center line, even interlacing them underneath of your pinky toes. Feel free to come down as much as feels possible. Find the stretch that works for you today. Don't be afraid to come to the edge of your stretch. You want to feel engaged and aware. The stretch should be noticeable, but it shouldn't be painful. It might be uncomfortable, but no sharp shooting pains. Take your time. We're gently going to lift ourselves back up. Feel free to bring those feet together. Take your time. We're going to slowly lower ourselves down on our backs. If you have a prop, we're going to make use of the props on the floor right now. Go ahead, bend your knees and bring the soles of the feet to the floor about mat's width distance apart. Next up, we're going to do bridge pose with the option for supported bridge pose. So grounding those feet down towards the floor. Before you even lift yourself up, pull that belly in nice and tight. Find that flat back to begin with. Create a little bit of extra space from the crown of your head all the way down through your hips. Feet grounded, belly tight. Take a deep inhale, lift those hips up. And feel free to place that block right at your lower back. A gentle massaging of your sacrum so that you can allow your glutes, those butt cheeks, to just hang over the side of your block. Little pressure and stimulation of that low back. You can either relax your hands on your heart, on your belly, maybe relaxing your arms down by your side. If you want to bring a little bit more stretch to that upper body, bringing those arms all the way up overhead, palms facing up towards the ceiling, or even some football goal post arms, which can bring a little bit more of an arch to your back as well. Notice if you're holding back and really just melt right here into your prop, into your stretch. Make sure you're still right here in this moment right now. Continue to tell all thoughts that creep into your head, thank you for coming. This is my me time. I will get back to you. We'll take 2 more breaths right here. Enjoy a big inhale. Keep those lungs full, reground your feet, press your hips up, and then release your block from underneath of you as you exhale, relax down to the floor. Go ahead, draw those knees in towards your chest. Squeeze your thighs in towards each other. Make some circles with your knees, first in one direction. One more opportunity to bring a massage, some stimulation to that lower back. And then in the opposite direction. And we'll go ahead and thread the needle while we're down here. So gently release your soles of the feet back down to the mat. Keep your left foot grounded. Inhale your right leg up towards the ceiling. Make some circles with your ankle, first in one direction. And then in the opposite direction. As you're ready, go ahead, cross your right leg over your left. Make sure that there's some space for you to still make some circles so you're not pressing your ankle against your thigh. And change direction of the circles as you come into your stillness. Start to stretch your right knee down towards the end of the mat. Feel free to even apply a little bit of pressure with your hand to stretch your right knee away from you, starting to feel that stretch in the front of your hip flexor. If you'd like to bring it more throughout your glute. Go ahead, take a deep inhale, lift your left foot up off of the floor. And you can either just allow gravity to do the work right here. Notice if you start to roll over onto the right side and center yourself back down on the mat. Option to interlace your fingers behind the back of your thigh for thread the needle, or even relax your hands on top of your left knee. Still doing your best though to stretch your right knee away from you as much as possible. What's happening with your neck right now? Can you get a little bit more of your back of your head and neck relaxed flat on the mat? And just enjoy your breath right here. Awesome. Take one more big breath. And then exhale, relax and release your left foot back down towards the mat. Deeply cross your legs. So a little bit of eagle legs right here. Really pressing the right thigh into the top of the left leg. Stretch your arms out to the side in a T and allow your knees to fall heavy over to the left side of the body. Still working to find that squeeze, a little grounded rooting twist right here. You can keep facing in the same direction of your knees, or if it's possible, turn your chin towards the opposite shoulder. Work to get both shoulders as close to the mat as you can. And just come back to your breath right here. Eyes closed or focused on one spot. Keep things nice and slow and still. For 3 more breaths. Take your time as you slowly change. As you roll onto your back, uncross your legs, ground your right foot next to your left, and even take a moment to just windshield wipe your knees right and left. Finding a little bit of a stretch of your knee down towards the bottom of the mat as it comes closer to the mat to really engage a little bit more through your back. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get the opposite side. We'll start again with drawing both knees in towards our chest. Go ahead, make some circles with your knees in one direction, squeezing those thighs in towards each other, just working to ground as much of your spine on the mat as you can. And then in the opposite direction. Beautiful. And then take your time, relax and release the soles of the feet back down towards the floor. Pull your belly in and re-ground your lower back on the mat. Inhale your left leg up towards the ceiling this time and make some circles with your ankle in one direction. In the opposite direction. Still normal to hear some crunching and cracking. Take your time as you cross your left leg over your right thigh. Make sure there's still some room to make circles with your ankle in both directions. And then start to stretch that left knee away from you. Back to your breath, really grounded down on the mat, back of the head. Relax down on the mat as much as possible. If you want to bring this stretch deeper throughout the left leg instead of just in this left hip flexor, go ahead, bring your right leg up off of the floor. Either allowing gravity to do the work while still the intention of stretching your left knee away from you, feeling more of a stretch on the outer thigh. You can always interlace your fingers behind your right leg. If that feels too far away, maybe placing one or both hands on top of your knee. Hello, Uncle Buck. Just taking your time right here in this breath. We've only got one more posture before we come into our final Savasana, and that's going to be our rooted twist on this side. So once again, make sure you have a slight tucking of your chin to your chest. It's very normal to arch that chin up towards the ceiling to find that extra stretch and to not be as supported on the mat as possible. But find that support right now. Take one more big deep breath. And then exhale, release your right leg back down to the floor. Deeply cross those legs. Find as big of a squeeze as you can, creating some compression right here in this stretch. Stretch your arms out to the side or maybe into those goalposts as you shift over onto your right hip and allow your knees to fall heavy over to the right side. Just make sure you come into a stretch where you can still continue to find your breath. If you took a twist that was too deep where you find yourself not breathing, come out just a little bit. Relax yourself right here. And change. Take your time, roll over onto your back again once more. Uncross your legs. Option to windshield wipe, to adjust your body however you need to. We're going to go ahead and send our legs out in front of us and come into our final Savasana. Ground yourself in the mat once more. Just find a place to relax your hands, maybe one hand at your heart, one at your belly, arms by your side. It's final Savasana, so feel free to spread out as much as you want to. Find what feels good for you today. And just take this time to come back to your breath, to yourself. And thank yourself for making this time. Feel good about these 45 minutes together. Remember that Savasana is also a posture known as corpse pose. We're working to be as still as possible. Any additional movements that we create are us coming out of the posture. So simply allow your inhale to allow your belly to rise. Exhale, allow your belly to fall. Do that total body scan from head to toe and just notice where you might be able to relax a little bit more here in this last asana. beautiful practice today, you guys. You're welcome to stay here in this final Savasana for as long as continues to honor you. However, if you're ready to do and see more with your day and weekends, go ahead, take a little wiggle of your fingers and toes, and take your time. We're going to roll over onto whichever side feels more comfortable for you. Go ahead, bend your knees, maybe even making a pillow with your arm. We'll just hang out here for a second. Recovery position. And as you're ready, take your time, press yourself up, come into a seated position. Seated position of your choice, just moving with intention. All right, grounding right here once more. Go ahead, bring your hands palms to the center of your chest, tuck your chin. Bring your head closer to your hands palms. Take a moment to really reflect and think about what you're thankful for, what this practice brought to you, why you come, what you're hoping to get out of this. Did you meet that intention today? If not, there's always tomorrow. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming and making this time for yourself, for your physical and mental health. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that we said or did today, please reach out. As always, continue to think good thoughts, speak good words, eat good foods, do good deeds, nourish yourself from the inside and out so you can share with others. I can't wait to see you guys all again soon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. So does Uncle Buck. Namaste. Hi, Buds. Hi, Buddy McButterson. You were so nice during class. You were so sleepy. That's one zen little doggy.